Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. Today, I'm joined by the CEO of one of the most recognised and respected brands in Australia. Natural health company Blackmores has been selling vitamins and minerals for 90 years, and in recent months has seen its share price surge as the pandemic puts a focus back on health. As it enters its 91st year, Blackmores is now preparing for a post-COVID wellness boom. Alastair Symington is the Blackmores Group CEO and my guest this morning. Alastair, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Good morning, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Okay, booming share price, 50% in the last 6 months, but how do you manage your shareholders?
Yeah, well, we've obviously got a wide variety of shareholders in our base. So everything from our major shareholder, Marcus Blackmore, through to institutional investors, and then a wide and long-serving base of retail shareholders. And so we essentially take feedback from all of our shareholders as we move along. I mean, we launched our strategy, Ignite for 24, about 18 months ago. So we've been on quite a journey over the last 18 months in terms of our transformation. And we're very pleased to share some of the results we did at the end of financial year 21. So our net sales were up 3%. Our profit was up more than 60%. We're able to deliver 71 cents in share dividends. So value to shareholders is the single most important thing, and the strategy seems to be really playing out the way that we really wanted it to, and really pleased to see those results.
So Marcus Blackmore, who's the son of the founder who founded the business 90 years ago, he owns 23% of the company. He obviously doesn't get on with the chair, right? So the biggest shareholder doesn't get on with the chair. I'm not trying to take sides, and clearly you're not going to take sides on that, Alastair, and so make that very plain. But actually managing a company when you have a tough dynamic, is it difficult? I mean, it must make it more difficult when that's happening.
You know, I'm a director on the board as the managing director of the company. My focus is on my employees and also on delivering results. That's the thing that I can focus on the most. It's the thing that's most inside my control. So, if we look over the last 2 years in particular during COVID, the ability to ensure that the workplace is safe, that our employees feel secure, that their health is most paramount to the company, and ensure, particularly more so that we're a health company, we need to make sure that we live by our purpose, which is to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to live a healthy life naturally, and that's no more important than for our employees. So my focus is on making sure that results in the health and well-being of employees is the most important thing.
Okay, so how did the company start? I mean, I think you probably just answered the question. The first time I heard of Blackmores, my family owned a health food shop in the 70s in country New South Wales, which was a very unusual thing to do. And I seem to remember Blackmores then when it wasn't really as omnipresent as it is now. It has grown and had an incredible period, really. How does it stay relevant when it's kind of been doing the same thing for 90 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. Obviously the one thing that we really need to ensure is that we not only stay relevant to our contemporary consumers, but we also have a very loyal base of long-term consumers and patients that have been using Blackmores for years. Most companies would envy a 90-year tradition and a track record of improving the health outcomes of Australians and those in Asia Pacific. So we build off that foundation. Our company was founded on naturopathic principles. We stay very true to those principles, and that's really seen us successful over the first 90 years and into the future. And as we think about staying relevant, it's really building on that idea of trust, quality, and assurance. And it's no more relevant today than in a sort of post-pandemic world where health assurance is really important, and people are more interested in health outcomes than ever before.
Do you feel a responsibility, being the holder of that just for a period as CEO, of that 90-year history?
Oh, there's tremendous responsibility. I think, it's important that everything we do here at Blackmore starts and finishes with our purpose. Maurice Blackmore started our company in 1932, and his overarching principle was that to have healthy people, you need to have a healthy planet. So we not only have a very clear purpose around improving the health and well-being of people, but we do it in a way which is protects the planet, and we tread lightly in terms of the way that we source our raw materials and ingredients, and that leads to products which are of high quality that are sourced from nature.
Okay, so you've committed to being net zero by 2030, I think, is that right? Did you have to make many changes given the upstream and downstream responsibility that comes with that net zero commitment?
Yeah, we made the net zero commitment in 2019. It gave us just on 10 years to reach those targets. There's many ways you can get to net zero. For us, it was interesting at the time we made those commitments. We also made an acquisition of a manufacturing facility down in Victoria, and so our emissions doubled at the same time we committed to reducing our emissions to zero. And for us, that was clear responsibility. It was a statement that we wanted to make, that as a manufacturer here in Australia, and the manufacturing sector here in Australia continues to be very strong, but in our industry, we had an opportunity here to really lead in this area. So, we started with very small steps. We made sure that we understood our carbon footprint. A couple of years later, we started with a new clean energy strategy. We've done climate resilience risk assessments over time. Now we've tied some of our net zero targets to our executive remuneration, and the conversations continue across the organisation. It's something that we learn. We're learning a lot about as we go along. I don't think anybody's got a clear playbook, but we have made quite a lot of progress in a very short period of time.
Stay with me, Alastair. We'll be back in a minute. I'm speaking to Blackmore's Group CEO, Alastair Symington. Okay, so you operate in 13 markets across the Asia Pacific. Which are the big ones? Australia and New Zealand, presumably?
So Australia and New Zealand is just under half of our sales. The other half is split between China's just under 20% of our sales. Indonesia is our fastest growing market. It's now our number one market in Southeast Asia. Thailand, we've been in Thailand for more than 30 years. Malaysia, we've been there for more than 30 years. So Marcus was a real pioneer up into Asia Pacific. We've just launched in the last 2 months into India, so that's our new market. And we're really excited about the opportunities that we see in India as middle class rise, and there's more of an awareness around the options you have for health in relation to your family and personal health and well-being. So those markets are really the opportunity for growth for our company. I mean, as you know, we're an Australian company. We've been exporting for a long, long time, but really our opportunity here is to stand firmly in front of some of these global competitors and be a global operation in our own right.
So just quick, India I always find fascinating because very few Australian companies have managed to breach the bureaucracy of India, if I put it that way. And Indonesia is another one, 300 million people or thereabouts. The fact that you can get into that market, what is the trick? Is it persistence or something getting into India and Indonesia as markets? Because between them, you're not that far off a couple of billion people.
Well, that's right. I mean, our ambition is to reach 1 billion consumers by 2025. And if we can reach 1 billion and we can convince them that natural health solutions are a good alternative for them, even at 1%, it means that we can be $1 billion company by that time frame. And it means that we can influence and make a difference in the lives of many consumers up into Asia Pacific. So coming back to your question on the pathway there and the road through some of the bureaucracy, I mean, we operate in heavily regulated environments in most of our markets. So when you start out in these new markets, it's really, you need to spend the time understanding what those regulatory frameworks look like and how you need to operate within those. So really understanding the playing field. Indonesia, for us, we've been there for just on 5 years. It's been in the last 2 years we've really started to see very good, consistent growth rates in Indonesia, and it's ensuring in that situation we have a very good partner in Cowbay Pharmaceuticals, and that's helped us access more consumers through traditional pharmacies. In India, our entry point is in through Amazon,
right?
And the market in India is roughly 3 billion in Aussie dollars, the category size, but the total addressable market's about 1 billion. And we feel if we can provide awareness and the right information around products through e-commerce, that's a good starting point for us in a country like India.
What about China? How is your business performing there? Listeners keeping in mind that certainly some others like infant formula makers and that have really struggled in China in recent times.
Yeah, so China, again, these markets, India, Indonesia, China, we're there for the long term. It's not something that you can just be in and out of over a short period of time. You've really got to commit to the markets. We entered into China around 2014. So we've been there for a relatively short period of time. The business is really important to us. There was a lot of focus a few years ago around different types of channels into the China market. So there was a multitude of ways of entering into China. We've really simplified the strategy where we're really focusing our investments and efforts against the cross-border e-commerce channel, which is where most of the international brands play. And having that focus, looking at key hero items just on the cross-border platforms is paying dividends for us. Last year, China grew at 28%. There's a lot of consistency in terms of the sustainable business results in China now. There's always a risk that, there may be some changes to the regulatory environment, and obviously geopolitical circumstances cause us to ensure that we have the right risk assessment around our business in China. But there's one thing, even through geopolitical turmoil, controversy around financial crisis linked to collapse of Evergrande, the one thing that stays consistent is consumers are always looking for high-quality natural products from markets like Australia. So if we have the right proposition there, we feel like we can be very successful ongoing in China.
And Alastair Symington, CEO of Blackmores, why has it taken you so long to get into pet health?
Well, we acquired, Marcus acquired, and the company acquired Paw back in 2008, I think it was. So
Right.
We've had the business for some time. Look, it's one of those areas. This area is dominated by very large companies, Mars, Nestlé, and a lot of the nutritional benefits that are talked about come through the food products. We are offering nutraceuticals or vitamins for pets, and if you think about just the evolution of our engagement and our relationship with our pets, these days, working from home, we're more connected to our animals than we've ever been. Gone are the days where you go off to work, put your dog out the back, make sure it had a bowl of water, and come back in the evening and maybe take
Really?
a walk.
That's what happens to our dog, to be perfectly honest.
Well, these days there's a lot of pampering that goes with it. So, and we're spending more time with our pets. We can see, if they've got hip issues or maybe they've got a, upset stomach. That one's pretty obvious. But we have ailments with our pets that are very similar to humans, and our philosophy around recommendations through vets is very consistent with the way we deal with some of our other practitioners in the more human space. So, finding those synergies, understanding where those crossovers are in terms of special conditions that we think we can benefit pets. And this business in pet, it's actually, a lot of it is sold online as well. So if you think about people buying pets, pet food or accessories, if they can put a $30 or $40 bottle of Paw into the basket, then it's good for the retailer, and it's also good for the consumer.
Well, good luck with it, Alastair. Thank you for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thank you.
That was Blackmore's Group CEO, Alastair Symington. This is the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. Join me every morning for the full Fear and Greed podcast with all the business news you need to know. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.